Calgary Today with Joe McFarland on 770 CHQR.
I like this part of the show. I don't know. Everybody said, I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. When Angela said she's retiring, everybody was asking, is Wine Wednesday coming back? Please tell me Wine Wednesday's coming back. I want to know something about wine. As somebody who's not a wine guy, it's been really cool over the last couple of weeks to get to know some things about wine. And Eric Southward is here to join us for Wine Wednesday, brought to you by Co-op Wine Spirits Beer. Come see them in store for more expert advice. Eric, thanks for coming in, man.
Joe, always a pleasure.
So last week we got to know our special guest, but this week I wanted to get to know you a little bit and maybe reintroduce you to introduce you to me, but also to reintroduce you to our listeners as well.
Absolutely.
So how long have you been in the wine business?
Oh man, probably around 15 years or so. It was something that
So
when
like
I was
4 when you started.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, don't let all this gray hair fool you. But no, I was going to university. I'm from the West Coast, so I was at UVic and UBC and just serving my way through university, and just I was probably the person that would, cooking amongst my friends, and I was always into just eating and drinking really well and getting into, things that were new from food and wine and stuff. Not that I was drinking anything like crazy expensive or fancy, but I guess I just like to eat and drink. So, and then after that, I didn't use my degree and found out what a sommelier was. I had no idea what that was, and just grilled this guy.
Much less pronounce it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was like, you do this for a living? What? And then went to school for that, and then kind of got hooked by the bug ever since.
So what got you did anything really set you off? I guess, like, was there one wine that you went, wow, I need to learn more about that?
I don't think so. I think that I just like being around people, sharing a meal, having something delicious in my glass, whether it be a beer or a cocktail or wine. I just feel like there's a power of the table. People just, no matter where you're from, what your background, if you're sharing some ribs or having some nachos or a beer at the pub, I just love those experiences. So I was always the person trying to create that. Always tried to have some food, that people can grab and a drink too. So yeah, I just love that setting.
Has there been any experience you've had over the last 15 years that made you sort of shocked, I guess, at, I didn't know that. That's incredible. Like, just kind of that eye-opening experience in a sense?
I think all the time. I did work at a winery in Australia, and I think for about a year, and I think it was just a great reinforcement that the people who make your wine are just normal people. Wine isn't a fancy beverage. You know what I mean? Like, you're dealing with farmers, you're people that are more, they're working in warehouses to warehouse your wine, and winemakers are very humble people. I think we get caught up in a lot of, perceptions of chateaus and things like this. Wine is a grocery. Like, it's just a staple in a lot of cultures. It's Coke, it's Pepsi. It's better than those things, but it is just a part of everyday life, and it doesn't have to be this intimidating thing. It's just a delicious thing to go with your burger a lot of times, right? Speaking
of intimidating, the segues well into what you've brought in today. So we've had the different cultures and different countries that the wines have come from. This one is a Spanish wine. Before we get into this specific wine, when you walk into a store and one of the things that might be intimidating to the average customer is, what is the difference between the different countries, right? Is it the grape? Is it the way it's manufactured? Like, what is it that differentiates the countries? Great question. I would say the grape variety is the #1 contributor to how your wine tastes and feels in your mouth. So if you can learn 1 or 2 grapes that you love or hate, and then communicate that to someone in the store, that you're ahead of the game, right? Because if you tell me you hate Pinot Noir or love Pinot Noir, that already tells me something. And it doesn't matter where it's grown. That's where the subtleties come from. Pinot Noir will always be light and silky. And if you love it, you're going to describe it as smooth and light. If you hate it, you're going to describe it as thin and watery and not rich or powerful. So Tempranillo, we're going to have one today. That's the main grape variety from Spain. You do find it in other parts of the world. But if you can, tell me, oh, I like Cabernet Sauvignon, that tells me, oh, like, hey, if you just want to try something similar but different, oh,
here's a full-bodied Tempranillo, we might try on that.
Gotcha. So, as I said, a Spanish wine we have. Tell us a little bit about this particular bottle that we have here today.
Yeah, so this is something that's on sale at Coop right now. Normally around $31. You're saving about $10, so it's $21 right now. This is from a producer called Marques de Riscal, and it's from a place called the Rioja. So it's the most kind of famous wine region. It's their Bordeaux, it's their Napa.
Right.
And Tempranillo is the most widely planted red grape in Spain. And we just love Spanish wines because they offer a lot of value. You get a lot of quality wine for your buck, I guess you could say. If this is from a place like Tuscany or Napa or Bordeaux, it's probably twice the price. So really great bottle of wine. It's their Reserve, or what they call their Reserva, which actually means something in Spain.
Well, I think Reserve means a lot to any alcohol drinker, right? Whether it's whiskey, if you hear something, Crown Royal Reserve, right? Or that kind of thing. If it's a Reserva, there's probably some special connotation to it.
Absolutely. So by law, they have to age it at least 3 years before they can ship it to you. In Canada, it means nothing. You can call your $6 bottle of Red Reserve. There's no legality to it. In certain European countries, it does hold some weight. So these grapes are probably some of their better grapes. They are going to, again, if they're not going to get money from you for right now, this is, 4 years since they picked the grapes, it's going to have to be quality. It's got to be able to age. And it's kind of nice that we didn't have to invest our hard-earned money to age it at our house, to wait so that we can drink it. They're doing that for us, which is a nice little benefit. The longer it's sitting, the better, I assume? Not always. Not always? That's a massive conversation, but it's just different. So think of it as different. Wine, when it's young, is always fruity and bold. It gets silky and less fruity over time. Some people love that. Some people don't. Don't assume you will. Right. So this wine has a bit of like a leathery kind of tobacco-y component. For some people, that's really appealing. For some people, that might turn you off. It's just different. Right. And you segued right into my next question, which was what should people be expecting out of a bottle of wine like this when they taste it? Absolutely. So very medium-bodied, not too heavy, not too light. It is really silky. It's spent some time in a wooden oak barrel. So you're going to pick up some kind of cedary vanilla notes on it as well. And then a bit of raspberry fruit. But again, you're getting that kind of leathery tobacco, warm kind of notes as well to give it a little interesting vibe, and goes well with kind of roast chicken, pork chops, that kind of perfect. Yeah, you segued into what I was going to ask last, which is what should we put it with? So, cheers, my friend. Cheers, man. Thank you so much for this. And that is Eric Southward from Co-op Wine, Spirits, and Beer. Wine Wednesday brought to you by Co-op Wine, Spirits, and Beer. Come see them in store for more expert advice. You're listening to Calgary Today here on 770 CHQR.
Say hello